was getting a sandwich, was checking Twitter as one does when the sandwich is being made nowadays, and went on Twitter, and then a couple different tweets said that Eddie Van Halen had passed. He had cancer for over a year. Or over a decade, I should say. He was battling it for just a long time. As you know, cancer has affected all of us. Just an absolute, it's just hell when your loved one or someone you care about is going through it.
It's lethal.
It's absolutely lethal.
And it can be it can be undescribable watching somebody suffer with it.
Yeah,
I know from personal experience.
Oh yeah, I mean it's affected all of us.
I know most people have. I mean, few people have. Not too many people have been fortunate. Not too many people. Most people have been fortunate enough to not have to watch family members or those that are close to them get eaten from the inside by this disease.
Yeah,
I have, and I know how bad. I know how.
I'm sorry for that one, Moles, because it's a hard thing to view, man.
Oh, it was the hardest thing I've ever had to see in my life. When my grandfather was sick with, I believe, stage 3 or stage 4 colon cancer, and basically at that point, impossible to treat. I mean, what cancer can do to somebody, and it can happen. How you said Eddie Van Halen had the cancer for just about a year?
No, over a decade. I'm sorry, I misspoke on that one. Yeah,
wow.
Because he had he had lung cancer, and so this is from TMZ, who's never wrong with this stuff. We were told in the last 72 hours, Eddie's ongoing health battle went massively downhill. Doctors discovered his lung cancer had moved to his brain as well as other organs, and that's just so unbelievably sad to hear. He was 65, and just an absolute legend. And when I say legend, a lot of times that's overused with superlatives when someone dies. Everything you heard about Eddie Van Halen is effing true about how much he impacted American rock, American culture, and how to play the guitar. Because, and I can go on for a long time about this, but there's a few points that I really want to get at about Eddie Van Halen. And his ability to solo was just unbelievable to hear. I was fortunate enough to see them live. My first concert in 2012, seeing the reunion tour with David Lee Roth, the first singer for Van Halen, at the Staples Center. And it was just unbelievably impressive to see what they were doing in their 5th decade, still just dominating on the stage. And he had just so many insane hits that went through the music, where a lot of times you think of the singer first. With Van Halen, you first pretty much think of the guitarist, which isn't really the case in so many different rock bands. And there's so many different ways, most that American rock music has made an impact in American culture. You know, you think of political. There's tons of examples of how bands have used politically charged lyrics or music to get their message out.
No doubt.
There's times when you get an emotional message, maybe from like a Bruce Springsteen or a Tom Petty, where you think back to an emotional time in your life, relationships. And then you get the little bit less serious, just good old-fashioned rock. You're talking about going to parties, you know, flirting with members of the opposite sex, consuming these all-time different things that can get you in a different state of mind.
And consuming all types of different things.
And that's what Van Halen was. They didn't take themselves so seriously, and it was refreshing to see some of their great music videos of all time. Hot for Teacher, up there. Panama, I recommend. That's a fun music video to see. Running with the Devil, their first ever song that came out on their first album in 1978, and just an incredible group. And he's in the conversation for best guitarist that America has ever heard. And you know, he's up there with Jimi Hendrix, with Eric Clapton, with a few of these other guys that have gone throughout American rock music. Chuck Berry, just iconic of rock music. And you think of Van Halen with David Lee Roth was just such a fun, energetic, in-your-face rock music that was just such a blast to listen to. It really puts you in a great mood, and there's so many songs that Van Halen was exactly, and then like it puts you in a better mood when you're watching the Yankees stream. And then I purposely didn't play like their all-time hits, you know. The three I just mentioned, Run with the Devil, Hot for Teacher, Jump, Panama, like the little other songs just below that tier that are still just kick-ass tunes. And he mattered to American music, and very few people can really leave Earth thinking that I did my job as well as it possibly could have done, and as good as anybody that's ever also done my job. There's only a few people. We talked about like how Bob Gibson, you know, there's a few guys that when they die, it's like you can argue he's the best ever to do it. And pretty much last thing as we wrap it up now, that I really recommend that if people have not heard so much of Van Halen, and myself too, I'm going back into their catalog because I'm notorious. I know about this about myself. I'm not good at going into like the third, fourth level of a group's catalog. I know about 12, 15 Van Halen songs that I really like, but listen to how well Roth and Eddie play off each other's musically, because there'll be because David Lee Roth is such a charismatic singer. If you ever seen him perform, just an unbelievable talent with that, and the way he'd make just one like noise or a sound, and then Van Halen would do it with his guitar to play off of it. Their chemistry was otherworldly with it. Even though they had their famous battles off, they only toured together as Van Halen that the world knew less than 10 years before Roth left the group and Sammy Hagar went in there. But Everybody Wants Some is a great example of that. If you can listen to that at your own time, when Roth just says anything and then Van Halen hits with just like an unbelievable sound that just has to put a smile on your face and then make you want to headbang for a little bit. And there's just so many good things that Van Halen did for American rock, and because there hasn't been a ton of musical impacts in rock the last 15 years or so,
especially as the mainstream musical culture has really shifted away from rock.
100%. I'm literally writing about that for another class. I'm not to change it. We only got a couple more minutes left, but about how the last great American rock album was American Idiot in 2004 because it was so politically charged and it mattered. It mattered with what they were saying. And now Van Halen admitted they weren't writing about politics or Bruce Springsteen's relationship with his dad. That wasn't what Van Halen is. But they hit their target audience so unbelievably well, and they knew what they were, and especially with Roth, they knew what their fans wanted to hear. So rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. 65 leaves us all too soon, and I really do think that for generations to come, other young people and people that were able to see them live will be able to really appreciate what he was able to do in his music career, because it's one of the all-time great rock and roll bands. And I can't recommend going through their hard hits enough, because it's just a good time. It's just a good time. And as sad as it is to have him go,
the music's going to live on.
The music will
live on, and the legacy will live on, and that is
absolutely.
Those are the two most important things that you can hope for somebody of his caliber of celebrity, his caliber of the size of the impact that he had on the music industry and on just the world.
So thoughts and prayers with him and his family, all the people that he touched throughout the decades that he was there, because there's not many people that would elicit such a charge of reaction when someone dies. But my God, did Eddie Van Halen matter.
No doubt.